My name is Sarah Williams, and I'm 34 years old. In exactly 8 months, I'll turn 35, the age that has haunted my family for generations, the age when we all seem to disappear. I'm standing in the dusty attic of my great-grandmother's house in Salem, Massachusetts. The October wind rattles the old windows, and the smell of mothballs and forgotten memories fills the air. Grandma Rose passed away last week, and as the last living Williams descendant, everything became mine. Another box of old photographs, I mutter, wiping sweat from my forehead despite the autumn chill. I've been up here for 3 hours, sorting through decades of accumulated belongings. Wedding dresses yellowed with age, Christmas ornaments from the 1940s, and stack after stack of family photos. But it's the small, leather-bound book hidden beneath a loose floorboard that stops me cold. The diary is bound in deep burgundy leather, worn smooth by countless hands. On the cover, embossed in fading gold letters, "Property of Eleanor Williams, 1923, my great-great-grandmother, the woman I'd only heard whispered stories about." I sit cross-legged on the dusty floor and open to the first page. Eleanor's handwriting is elegant but urgent, as if she was racing against time. October 15th, 1923, my 35th birthday approaches like a storm on the horizon. I write this not for myself, but for the daughters who will come after me. The Williams women carry a burden that cannot be spoken aloud, only written in the shadows of truth. My hands tremble as I turn the page. Outside, a car horn honks, reminding me that the modern world still exists beyond these walls. But Eleanor's words pull me deeper into the past. We do not die at 35, as the family believes. We are taken. There is a pattern, a cycle that began with my grandmother's grandmother. Every generation, the eldest daughter pays a price for choices made long ago. Ndil. I drop the diary, my heart pounding. This is impossible. Our family's curse has always been explained by genetics, by some rare hereditary condition that doctors could never quite identify. My mother died at 35 in a car accident. My grandmother at 35 from sudden heart failure. My great-grandmother from complications during what should have been routine surgery. But Eleanor is suggesting something else entirely. I pick up the diary again, my hands steadier now. If I'm going to die in 8 months, I need to understand why. The first Williams woman to settle in Salem was my great-great-grandmother, Constance. The year was 1847, and she arrived with nothing but the clothes on her back and a secret that would doom her bloodline. She made a deal, not with the devil as the old stories would have us believe, but with something far more human and therefore far more dangerous. The afternoon light streaming through the attic window is fading, casting long shadows across the floor. I should go downstairs, make myself dinner, call my best friend Jessica, and tell her about this strange discovery, but I can't stop reading. Constance Williams was pregnant and unmarried when she arrived in Salem. In 1847, this was a death sentence for both mother and child. She was desperate, alone, and willing to do anything to survive. That's when she met Ezra Blackwood. The name sends a chill down my spine, though I don't know why. Ezra Blackwood owned half of Salem's shipping industry. He was wealthy, powerful, and married to a woman who could not bear children. He offered Constance a deal. He would claim her child as his own, provide for them both, and give them a life of comfort and security. In exchange, every generation of Williams women would pay a debt. I flipped through several pages, my eyes scanning Eleanor's increasingly frantic handwriting. The debt is not money. It is not service. It is life itself. When the eldest Williams daughter reaches 35, she must choose: disappear forever, leaving behind everything and everyone she loves, or watch her entire family line suffer a fate worse than death. My phone buzzes with a text from Jessica. "How's the attic archaeology going? Found any family treasures?" I stare at the message, unsure how to respond. How do you tell your best friend that you've just discovered your family has been trapped in some kind of generational contract for over 150 years? Instead, I text back, "Still sorting through things. We'll call you later." The sun has almost set now, and the attic is growing dark. I should turn on a light, but something keeps me reading by the fading daylight, as if Eleanor's words are meant to be consumed in shadows. I have spent months researching the Blackwood family, Ezra died in 1889, but his descendants still live in Salem. They have grown even wealthier over the decades, their shipping business evolving into a modern logistics empire. They remember the deal, even if we have forgotten. 3 days ago, I received a letter. Cream-colored paper, expensive ink, delivered by a man in a black suit who would not give his name. The letter was simple. Eleanor Williams, your time approaches. The choice will be presented to you on your 35th birthday. Choose wisely. I close the diary and lean back against a dusty trunk. My 35th birthday is March 15th, exactly 5 months and 3 days away. If Eleanor's story is true, if this isn't just the ramblings of a woman driven mad by family tragedy, then someone in Salem is waiting for me. Someone who remembers a deal made in 1847. Someone who expects me to honor it. I pull out my phone and Google Blackwood Logistics, Salem, Massachusetts. The search returns dozens of results. The company still exists, still thriving, now run by someone named Marcus Blackwood. Their corporate headquarters is less than 10 miles from where I'm sitting. The coincidences are piling up too high to ignore. I gather the diary and a few other items from the attic, my mind racing. If I'm going to understand what happened to the women in my family, I need to learn more about this deal. I need to find out what Constance Williams agreed to, and whether there's any way to break it. But first, I need to decide whether I believe any of this is real. As I climb down the attic ladder, diary clutched against my chest, I catch sight of myself in the hallway mirror. I look exactly like the women in the old photographs scattered throughout the house. The same dark hair, the same green eyes, the same determined set to my jaw, the same face that has disappeared from this world again and again for over a century. Outside, the October wind picks up, rattling the windows of the old house. Somewhere in Salem, Marcus Blackwood is probably sitting in his office, unaware that the last Williams woman has just discovered the truth. Or maybe he's been waiting for this moment all along. I didn't sleep last night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table until dawn, reading every page of Eleanor's diary by lamplight. The more I read, the more impossible it all seemed, and the more convinced I became that it was true. Eleanor had documented everything: names, dates, addresses. She'd tracked down the descendants of everyone involved in the original deal. She'd even found copies of old shipping manifests that proved Constance Williams had indeed arrived in Salem in 1847, pregnant and alone. But the most chilling discovery was Eleanor's final entry, dated just 3 days before her 35th birthday. I have made my choice. I cannot abandon my daughter Rose to face this alone someday, but I also cannot condemn her to the same fate. There must be another way. I'm going to confront Marcus Blackwood's grandfather directly. If I do not return, Rose will find this diary when she comes of age. Perhaps she will be braver than I am. Perhaps she will find the strength to break what I could not. Eleanor never returned. According to family records, she died in a house fire on her 35th birthday. The fire was ruled accidental, but now I wonder. This morning, I'm standing outside the gleaming glass tower that houses Blackwood Logistics. It's one of those modern corporate buildings that seems to reflect the sky, making it hard to see inside. The lobby is all marble and chrome, with a security desk manned by 2 guards who look like they could bench press a small car. I'd like to speak with Marcus Blackwood, I tell the receptionist, a young woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Do you have an appointment? She asks, her fingers already moving toward her computer keyboard. No, but it's about family business, Williams' family business. Her fingers freeze. For just a moment, her professional mask slips, and I see something that might be fear flicker across her face. Then the smile returns, brighter than before. Please have a seat, Ms. Williams. Mr. Blackwood will be with you shortly. I settle into one of the leather chairs in the waiting area, my heart pounding. The fact that she knew my name without me giving it confirms what I was afraid of. They've been expecting me. 20 minutes later, a man emerges from the elevator. He's tall, probably in his early 40s, with salt and pepper hair and the kind of expensive suit that costs more than most people make in a month. His eyes are the pale blue of winter ice, and when he looks at me, I feel like he's seeing straight through to my soul. Ms. Williams, he says, extending his hand. I'm Marcus Blackwood. I believe we have some family business to discuss. His office is on the top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offer a panoramic view of Salem. I can see the harbor from here, where ships have been coming and going for centuries, where Constance Williams first set foot in this town, carrying the child who would doom all her descendants. You found Eleanor's diary, Marcus says. It's not a question. I nod, not trusting my voice. He walks to a wall safe, hidden behind a painting of a 19th century sailing ship. When he opens it, I can see stacks of papers, some of them yellowed with age. He pulls out a folder and sets it on his desk. The original contract, he says simply, signed by Constance Williams and my great-great-grandfather Ezra Blackwood on November 3rd, 1847. The document is written in faded ink on heavy paper. The language is formal, legal, but the meaning is clear. In exchange for protection and provision for herself and her child, Constance Williams bound her bloodline to a debt that would be collected every generation. What kind of debt? I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know the answer. Marcus sits behind his desk, his pale eyes never leaving my face. Service, he says. The Williams women have unique qualities that have proven valuable to my family's business over the years. What kind of qualities? You tell me, Sarah. Haven't you always been able to sense things others couldn't? Haven't you always known when someone was lying? When danger was approaching, when something was about to go wrong? My blood runs cold. He's right. I've always had what my mother called good instincts. I could tell when my college boyfriend was cheating before I found the evidence. I knew my grandmother was going to die 3 days before she had the heart attack. I've never thought of it as anything supernatural, just intuition, pattern recognition, lucky guesses. The Williams women are natural empaths, Marcus continues. You can read people, predict their behavior, sense their true intentions. In the shipping business and later in logistics and international trade, that kind of ability is invaluable. My family has built an empire on the insights provided by your ancestors. And when we turn 35, you disappear. New identity, new life, new location. You work for us exclusively, using your abilities to help us navigate complex business deals, identify threats, predict market changes. In exchange, you live comfortably but completely cut off from your old life. I stand up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. That's insane. You can't just kidnap people and force them to work for you. Marcus's expression doesn't change. We don't kidnap anyone, Sarah. We honor a contract that your ancestor willingly signed, and we offer a choice. The same choice offered to every Williams woman. What choice? He opens the folder again and pulls out a photograph. It's recent, taken with a digital camera. It shows a woman who looks exactly like me, sitting in what appears to be a cafe in Paris. She's older, maybe in her 50s, with grey streaking her dark hair, but her eyes are unmistakably Williams' eyes. Your mother, Marcus says quietly. The room spins. I grip the edge of his desk to keep from falling. That's impossible. My mother died in a car accident when I was 15. Your mother chose to honor the contract. She's been living in Europe for the past 20 years, working for our international division. She's quite happy, actually. She has a small apartment overlooking the Seine, a garden where she grows herbs, and work that challenges her intellect. You're lying. Marcus slides the photograph across the desk. On the back, in handwriting I recognize, are the words, "For Sarah when she's ready to understand. I love you, Mom." My legs give out and I collapse back into the chair. She's alive, very much so, as are your grandmother and great-grandmother. The Williams women don't die at 35, Sarah. They simply transition to a different life. I stare at the photograph, my mind reeling. If this is true, if my mother is alive, then everything I've believed about my family, about my fate, has been a lie. Why the secrecy? Why let us think they're dead? Because the contract requires complete separation. No contact with the old life. No loose ends that might compromise their effectiveness. The Williams women are most valuable when they have no divided loyalties. And if I refuse, Marcus's expression grows cold. Then you die, really die. The contract is quite specific about the consequences of non-compliance. He pulls out another set of photographs. These show women who look like they could be my relatives, but their faces are pale, their eyes empty. They're lying in what appear to be hospital beds, connected to machines. The Williams women who refused the contract, Marcus explains. They fell into comas on their 35th birthdays and never woke up. Their families were told it was a rare genetic condition. Technically, that's true. It is genetic in a way. The contract is bound to your bloodline. I push the photographs away, unable to look at them anymore. This is medieval. You can't hold people to contracts signed by their ancestors, can't we? Marcus closes the folder. Your great-great-great-grandmother made a deal to save her child's life. Every generation since has benefited from that deal. The Williams family has never wanted for money, has never faced true hardship. The Blackwood family has ensured your education, your healthcare, your opportunities. We've been silent partners in your success. He's right, and I hate that he's right. My family has always been comfortable, even when my mother was supposedly a single parent working as a librarian. I went to private school, had college paid for, never worried about money. I always assumed it was life insurance from my father's death, but now I wonder. You have 5 months to decide, Marcus says, standing up. On March 15th, you can join your mother in Paris, or you can join your cousins in the long-term care facility. The choice is yours. I stand on shaky legs, clutching the photograph of my mother. Can I see her, talk to her? Not until you make your decision. Contact would violate the terms of her contract. I walk toward the door, then turn back. What if I run? What if I disappear before my birthday? Marcus's smile is cold as winter. The contract will find you, Sarah. It always does. Distance is irrelevant when you're bound by blood. The elevator ride down feels like falling. In the lobby, the blonde receptionist gives me that same empty smile, and I wonder if she knows what happens in the office upstairs. I wonder if she's seen other Williams women walk through these doors, looking as lost and terrified as I feel right now. Outside, Salem looks different. The familiar streets seem foreign, as if I'm seeing them through new eyes. Every person I pass could be working for the Blackwoods. Every shadow could be hiding someone sent to watch me. I have 5 months to figure out how to break a contract that has held my family prisoner for over 150 years. 5 months to find a way to save not just myself, but my mother, my grandmother, and all the Williams women who come after me. 5 months to do what Eleanor couldn't. As I walk back to my car, I can feel Marcus Blackwood watching me from his office window, 40 floors above the street. He thinks he holds all the cards, thinks the contract makes him untouchable, but he's never dealt with a Williams woman who knows the truth. And I'm just getting started. 3 weeks have passed since my meeting with Marcus Blackwood, and I've barely slept. Every spare moment has been spent researching, investigating, and planning. My apartment looks like a detective's war room. Walls covered with family trees, timelines, and photographs connected by red string. I've learned things that make my blood boil. The Blackwood family hasn't just been collecting Williams women for 150 years. They've been breeding us. Every marriage, every relationship, every child born into our family has been carefully orchestrated to maintain and strengthen our empathic abilities. My father didn't die in an accident when I was 2. He was paid to disappear after I was born. His genetic contribution no longer needed. I'm not just trapped in a contract. I'm the product of a selective breeding program designed to create the perfect psychic asset. But I've also learned something else. I'm not alone. Sarah Williams? The voice on the phone is cautious, suspicious. Who is this? My name is Rebecca Martinez, I say, gripping my cell phone tighter. I think we need to talk. I found your number in Eleanor Williams' diary. There's a long pause. Eleanor's been dead for 70 years. I know. I'm her great-great-granddaughter, and I think you might be in the same situation I am. Another pause. Longer this time. Meet me at the Peabody Essex Museum. 1 hour. Come alone. Rebecca Martinez turns out to be a woman about my age, with dark hair and intelligent brown eyes. She's sitting on a bench in front of a display about Salem's maritime history when I arrive. She looks up as I approach, and I can see the same haunted expression I've been wearing for weeks. You're really a Williams? She asks, without preamble. I nod and sit beside her. And you're a Martinez. Eleanor wrote about your family in her diary. Your great-great-grandmother was Maria Martinez, right? She arrived in Salem in 1852. Rebecca's face goes pale. How do you know that? Because she made the same deal with Ezra Blackwood that my ancestor did. Different year, Same contract. I pull out a folder containing copies of everything I've found. How many women in your family have disappeared at 35? All of them, Rebecca whispers. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. The family always said it was a genetic condition, some kind of early onset dementia that ran in the female line. It's not dementia. They're alive, Rebecca. They're all alive, working for the Blackwood family. I show her the photographs Marcus gave me, along with everything else I've discovered. As she reads, her hands begin to shake. This is insane, she says finally. This can't be legal. It's not about legal. It's about power and money and a contract that somehow binds us on a level deeper than law. I lean closer, lowering my voice. But I think I've found a way out. Rebecca looks up sharply. What do you mean? Eleanor wasn't the only one who tried to fight back. I've been tracking down other families, other women, who are bound by similar contracts. The Blackwoods didn't just target the Williams and Martinez families. They collected dozens of bloodlines over the decades. I pull out a map of New England, marked with red dots. Boston, Providence, Hartford, Portland, there are Blackwood contracts all over the region. But here's the thing, some of the families broke free. How? I'm still figuring that out. But I found records of 3 families who just stopped. No more disappearances. No more mysterious deaths. The contracts just ended. Rebecca studies the map. When did this happen? Different times. The Ashford family in Boston broke free in 1923. The Chen family in Hartford got out in 1967. The Morrison family in Providence escaped in 1989. I point to each location. I've been trying to contact descendants, but it's slow going. People don't like to talk about family secrets. Have you found any of them? 1. Margaret Morrison lives in a nursing home in Providence. She's 89 years old, and she remembers everything. I'm driving down to see her tomorrow. Rebecca is quiet for a long moment, staring at the map. My 35th birthday is in 6 months. She says finally. Mine's in 4. We don't have much time. She looks at me with something that might be hope. You really think we can break this? I think we have to try. Because if we don't, our daughters will be sitting on this same bench in 30 years, having this same conversation. The next day, I drive to Providence alone. Rebecca wanted to come, but we decided it was safer if we didn't travel together. If the Blackwoods are watching us, and I'm sure they are, we don't want to make it obvious that we're working together. Sunset Manor is one of those expensive nursing homes that tries to hide its institutional nature behind warm lighting and floral wallpaper. Margaret Morrison is in the memory care unit, which makes me nervous until I realize she's there by choice. Not because she's lost her mind. Hiding in plain sight, she explains when I find her in the garden. She's a small woman with silver hair and sharp blue eyes that miss nothing. If people think you're senile, they stop paying attention to what you say. I sit beside her on a bench overlooking a small pond. Mrs. Morrison, I need to know how your family broke the Blackwood contract. She studies me for a long moment. You're one of the bound families. Williams, my 35th birthday is in 4 months. Margaret nods slowly. I remember your great-great-grandmother Eleanor, brave woman. She came to see my grandmother in 1923. Just before she trails off. Before she died trying to break the contract. Eleanor didn't die, child. That's what we wanted everyone to think, including the Blackwoods. She's the one who showed us how to break free. My heart stops. Eleanor is alive? Was alive anyway. She'd be over 100 now, so probably not anymore. But she lived to see her granddaughter grow up, lived to see the contract broken. Margaret leans closer. The key isn't fighting the contract directly. It's understanding what gives it power. What do you mean? The contracts aren't just legal documents, Sarah. They're bound by something deeper. Call it magic, call it psychic energy, call it whatever you want. The point is, they draw their power from the fear and isolation of the bound families. Margaret reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small leather journal. Eleanor left this with my grandmother, instructions for breaking the binding, but it requires cooperation between multiple families. And it's dangerous. I take the journal with trembling hands. The cover is similar to Eleanor's diary, but smaller, more worn. What kind of dangerous? The kind where some people don't survive. The Blackwoods don't give up their assets easily. Margaret's expression grows grim. My grandmother and two other family matriarchs performed the ritual in 1923. Only my grandmother lived through it. I opened the journal, scanning Eleanor's familiar handwriting. The instructions are complex, involving specific dates, locations, and what can only be described as a magical ritual. But at the bottom of the page, in different ink, is a note that makes my blood run cold. The ritual requires the willing sacrifice of one bound woman from each participating family. The sacrifice breaks the contract for all future generations, but the price is final. Choose carefully. E.W., she knew, I whisper. Eleanor knew she was going to die. She chose to die, Margaret corrects. She chose to sacrifice herself so that her daughter and granddaughter and all the Williams women who came after would be free. But the contract is still active. I'm still bound. Margaret's face falls. That means the ritual failed or was incomplete. She takes the journal back, flipping through pages. How many bound families are still active? I've found evidence of at least 6, maybe more. That's the problem. The ritual Eleanor designed was meant to break the contracts for 3 families. If there were more families bound after 1923, or if some of the original contracts were renewed or modified, the ritual wouldn't have covered them. I feel hope slipping away. So we'd need to identify all the bound families and get them to participate, and find women from each family willing to die for the others. Margaret closes the journal. It's not impossible, Sarah, but it's close. I stand up, pacing beside the pond. There has to be another way. Eleanor was brilliant, but she was working with 1920s knowledge and resources. We have computers, databases, legal research tools she never dreamed of. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that contracts can be broken by lawyers as well as by magic. And I know someone who might be able to help. That evening, I called Jessica from my car in the nursing home parking lot. She's been my best friend since college, and she's also one of the best contract lawyers in Boston. Sarah, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for weeks. I know, Jess. I'm sorry, I've been dealing with some family stuff, but I need your help with something, and it's going to sound crazy. Crazier than the time you convinced me to help you break into our professor's office to prove he was stealing student research. Much crazier. I take a deep breath. I need you to help me break a 150-year-old contract that's been binding my family to what amounts to slavery. There's a long pause. Sarah, are you okay? I sound insane. I know, but I'm not. I'm going to send you some documents, and I need you to look at them with your lawyer brain, not your best friend brain. Can you do that? Another pause. Send me what you have. But Sarah, if you're in some kind of trouble, real trouble, I can help. You know that, right? I know. And Jess, this is real trouble, the kind that could get people killed. After I hang up, I sit in the parking lot for a long time, watching the sun set over Providence. Somewhere out there, Marcus Blackwood is probably in his office, confident that he holds all the cards. He thinks the Williams women are trapped, that we'll eventually submit to the contract like all the others before us. But he's never dealt with a Williams woman who had a contract lawyer for a best friend. And he's never dealt with a Williams woman who knows that Eleanor Williams is still alive. Because if Margaret Morrison is right, if Eleanor survived the ritual and lived to see her granddaughter grow up, then she might still be out there somewhere. And if she's still alive, she might know things about the contracts that could change everything. I start the car and head back towards Salem. I have 4 months to find Eleanor Williams, unite the bound families, and break a contract that has held us prisoner for over a century. 4 months to do the impossible. But for the first time since I found that diary in the attic, I think I might actually have a chance. 2 months later, I'm standing in a cemetery in Bangor, Maine, staring at a headstone that reads, Eleanor Williams, 1888-1923, beloved mother and grandmother. But the woman standing beside me is very much alive. Faking your own death was the easy part, Eleanor says, her voice still strong despite her 136 years. Staying hidden from the Blackwoods for a century was considerably more challenging. She looks exactly like the photographs from the 1920s, which should be impossible. But then again, everything about the past few months has been impossible. The ritual didn't just break the contract, she explains. noting my stare. It transferred the psychic energy that was binding us into something else, something that allows us to live as long as we need to complete our work. What work? Eleanor smiles, and for a moment I can see the young woman who defied the Blackwood family a century ago, breaking every contract they've ever made, freeing every family they've ever bound, destroying their entire operation. Behind us, 6 other women emerge from the shadows between the headstones. I recognize Rebecca Martinez, but the others are strangers until I look closer and see the familiar features, the family resemblances that mark them as descendants of the bound bloodlines. Sarah Williams, Eleanor says formally, meet the resistance. The woman who steps forward first is tall and elegant, with graying hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Dr. Patricia Chen, she introduces herself. My family was bound in 1889. I've been working with Eleanor for 30 years. The others follow. Maria Santos, whose grandmother was bound in 1901. Jennifer Ashford, descendant of the Boston family I'd researched. Lisa Morrison, Margaret's granddaughter. And finally, a young woman about my age with red hair and green eyes. Caitlin O'Brien, she says. My 35th birthday is next week. I look around at the group, my mind reeling. How many of you are there? 43 active members, Eleanor replies, scattered across New England and beyond. The Blackwoods have been busy over the past 150 years, but so have we. She leads us away from the cemetery to a small cabin hidden in the woods. Inside, it looks like a combination of a 19th century parlor and a modern command center. Antique furniture sits alongside computer monitors, and the walls are covered with maps, photographs, and documents spanning more than a century. This is our headquarters, Dr. Chen explains. We've been gathering intelligence on the Blackwood operation for decades. We know about their international network, their government connections, their financial structure. We know everything. Eleanor sits behind an ornate wooden desk that looks like it belonged to a ship captain. The contracts aren't just about collecting psychic assets, Sarah. They're about power. The Blackwood family has used our abilities to build a business empire worth billions. They've influenced elections, manipulated stock markets, and shaped international policy using information gathered by bound women. She opens a laptop that seems incongruous with her Victorian appearance. But their power comes from secrecy. If the world knew what they were doing, if governments understood how they've been manipulated, the Blackwood Empire would collapse overnight. So why haven't you exposed them? Because exposure isn't enough, Rebecca says. We need to break the contracts first, free all the bound women. If we expose the operation while people are still trapped, the Blackwoods will simply eliminate the evidence, including us, Caitlin adds grimly. Eleanor pulls up a file on her laptop. We've been planning this for 70 years, a coordinated strike that will break every contract simultaneously and expose the entire operation to the world. But we needed one more piece. She turns the laptop toward me. On the screen is a floor plan of the Blackwood building with a specific office highlighted in red. Marcus Blackwood's private safe contains the master contract, the original document that gives all the others their power. If we can destroy it, every subsidiary contract becomes void, and you need me to get it, I realize. You're the only one who can, Dr. Chen explains. You're expected to make your choice soon. Marcus will want to meet with you again, probably in his office. That's our opportunity. I study the floor plan, my heart pounding. What about the other women, the ones who are already bound? That's where Jessica comes in, Eleanor says with a smile. I spin around to see my best friend emerging from what I thought was a closet, but is apparently a hidden passage. She's carrying a briefcase and wearing the kind of determined expression I remember from law school. Jess, how did you... Eleanor contacted me 3 weeks ago, she says, setting the briefcase on the desk. After I finished analyzing those contracts you sent me. Sarah, what the Blackwoods have been doing isn't just immoral, it's completely illegal under modern law. Contracts signed under duress, involving minors without proper legal representation. Any court in the country would void them. But the psychic binding is real, but it's not legally enforceable, Jessica continues. I've been working with a team of international lawyers. We have injunctions ready to file in 12 countries, criminal charges prepared for multiple jurisdictions, and enough evidence to put the entire Blackwood family in prison for the rest of their lives. Eleanor nods approvingly. The legal approach will handle the modern contracts, but the original binding, the source of their power, requires a different solution. She opens the briefcase Jessica brought, revealing what looks like a combination of ancient artifacts and modern technology. We've spent decades developing this. It's a device that can sever psychic bonds by disrupting the energy patterns that maintain them. It's basically a supernatural EMP, Dr. Chen adds, but it only works if activated in the presence of the master contract. I look around at the faces surrounding me, women who have spent their lives fighting an enemy that most people don't even know exists. What's the plan? Eleanor stands, her movements graceful despite her impossible age. Tomorrow, you call Marcus Blackwood. Tell him you've made your decision, that you're ready to honor the contract. He'll want to meet immediately. While you're in his office, Rebecca continues, we'll be positioning teams around the building. Jessica and her legal team will be ready to file the injunctions the moment we give the signal. And I'll be in the building's basement, Dr. Chen says, installing the device in their main electrical system. When you activate the master contract, pretending to sign it, I'll trigger the disruption field. What about the women who are already bound? I ask. My mother, my grandmother, all the others. Eleanor's expression grows soft. They'll be free, Sarah. For the first time in decades, they'll be free to choose their own lives. Caitlin steps forward, and those of us who haven't reached 35 yet will never have to face that choice. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of 150 years of family history settling on my shoulders. What if something goes wrong? What if Marcus suspects something? Then we improvise, Eleanor says simply. But Sarah, you need to understand, this is our only chance. The Blackwoods are getting suspicious. They know something is happening. If we don't act now, they'll disappear, relocate their operation, and we'll lose them forever. The next morning, I make the call from my apartment. My hands are shaking as I dial Marcus Blackwood's direct number. Sarah, he says, answering on the first ring. I was wondering when I'd hear from you. I've made my decision, I tell him, trying to keep my voice steady. I want to see my mother. I want to honor the contract. Mish. There's a pause and I can almost hear him smiling. Excellent. Can you be here in an hour? I'll be there. An hour later, I'm back in the marble lobby of Blackwood Logistics. The same blonde receptionist gives me the same empty smile. But this time I notice the small earpiece she's wearing, the way her eyes track my movement across the lobby. Marcus is waiting for me in his office, the same folder of documents spread across his desk. But this time, there are additional papers, official-looking documents with spaces for signatures. I'm glad you've come to your senses, he says, gesturing for me to sit. Your mother will be so pleased to see you. When can I see her? As soon as you sign the transfer documents. He slides a pen across the desk. It's just a formality, really. Officially transferring your legal identity to our organization. I pick up the pen, my heart pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it. Somewhere in the building, Dr. Chen is installing the device. Somewhere in the city, Jessica is waiting with her legal team. Somewhere in the world, dozens of bound women are going about their daily lives, unaware that their freedom might be decided in the next few minutes. Before I sign, I say, I want to see the original contract, the one Constance Williams signed. Marcus raises an eyebrow. That's not necessary. It is for me. I want to understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. He studies me for a moment, then walks to his safe. The original contract is even more elaborate than I expected. Multiple pages of dense legal text written in faded ink on parchment that looks genuinely antique. As Marcus spreads it across his desk, I notice something Eleanor had told me to watch for. A small symbol in the corner of each page, drawn in what looks like blood. The binding sigil, Eleanor had explained. That's what gives the contract its power. When you touch it, I'll know you're in position. I reach out and place my finger on the symbol. 40 floors below, alarms start going off. Marcus spins toward his window as emergency lights begin flashing in buildings across Salem. What the hell? The lights in his office flicker and die. Emergency power kicks in a second later, bathing everything in red light. In the distance, I can hear sirens. Sarah, Marcus says, his voice deadly calm. What have you done? Before I can answer, his office door explodes inward. Eleanor Williams strides through the smoke, looking like an avenging angel despite her Victorian dress. Behind her, Rebecca and the others spread out across the room. "Hello, Marcus," Eleanor says pleasantly. "It's been a while." Marcus staggers backward, his face pale. "You're dead. You died in 1923. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated." Eleanor walks to his desk and picks up the original contract. "This belongs to my family now." "You can't just..." Marcus reaches for a phone, but Dr. Chen appears beside him and places a device against his neck. He collapses unconscious. "Temporary," she assures me. "He'll wake up in a few hours to find his entire world has changed." Eleanor holds the contract over a small flame that seems to appear from nowhere. As the parchment burns, I feel something shift inside me. A weight I didn't know I was carrying suddenly lifts. "It's done," Eleanor says simply. My phone buzzes with a text from Jessica. "Injunctions filed. Arrests being made. It's over." I look around the office at the women who have spent their lives fighting for this moment. "What happens now?" "Now," Eleanor says, "we help the bound women adjust to freedom. We make sure the Blackwood assets are distributed to their victims. And we make sure this never happens again. And us, the families." Eleanor smiles. "We get to live normal lives. We get to choose our own paths. We get to be free." 6 months later, I'm sitting in a cafe in Paris, across from a woman with graying hair and familiar green eyes. My mother looks older than I remember, but she's smiling in a way I've never seen before. "I can't believe it's really over," she says, reaching across the table to take my hand. "I can't believe I'm really free." What will you do now?" She looks out the window at the bustling Parisian street. "I think I'd like to come home. I think I'd like to get to know my daughter again." I squeeze her hand. "I'd like that too." Behind us, at a table near the window, Eleanor Williams sits reading a newspaper. The headline reads, "Blackwood Logistics Empire Collapses. International Scandal Rocks Business World." She catches my eye and nods once, then returns to her paper. She looks like any other elderly tourist enjoying a coffee in Paris. No one would guess that she's a 136-year-old woman who just brought down a criminal empire that had operated for over a century. But then again, the Williams women have always been good at hiding in plain sight. As my mother and I walk along the Seine, planning our future together, I think about the diary that started it all. Eleanor's words, written in desperation and hope, had reached across a century to save us all. Sometimes the most powerful magic is simply refusing to give up. Sometimes the most important inheritance isn't money or property, but the courage to fight for what's right. And sometimes the best way to honor the past is to make sure it never repeats itself. The Williams family curse is finally broken, but our story, our real story, is just beginning.